Hello everyone, you're listening to the Everything Geek podcast. I'm your host Ruari, and joining me today is a very special guest. We have Rick Adamson, best known for playing Lawton in Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds, Dr. Singh in Chakra the Invincible, Short Number 1, Professor Einan, the Narrator in Bomberman, Desperate Apocalypse Survivor in I Am Alive, the Narrator on Tonka Tales, Croatia, Land of 1,100 Islands and 101 Dalmatians, and Righteous Stepinac, and various shows on political pitfalls and King of Fighters Maximum Impact 3D. How are you today, sir?
I'm great, Rory. Thank you for having me on. Boy, you put it that way. It sounds reasonably impressive.
Absolutely, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to have you on the show today for your
Thank you.
first
Good to
ever
be here.
Yu-Gi-Oh interview.
Absolutely. I think it's my first interview on any kind of show ever. So thank you.
You're welcome. That's even more impressive. I should have led
Yeah.
with that.
No, that's very cool. Thanks.
You're welcome. So, getting right into my questions for you, Rick. First of all, can you tell me how you got into acting?
Well, sure. My folks were both good singers, although they weren't real confident about it. But I was blessed with a decent voice from them. And when I was a little kid at Christmas gatherings, my dad was a pretty good play-by-ear harmonica player, and he would take his harmonica to the family gatherings, and I would pick it up and do a little improvised tune with a little jig for all my Italian relatives, and they said, "Wow, he's pretty good." And so I think I had that instinct in me, and I probably came by it honestly from especially my father. And then a couple years later, I got one of those little General Electric reel-to-reel portable tape recorders from Santa. I think my father had recorded on it in sort of an embarrassed quasi-Santa voice, "Merry Christmas, Ricky, from Mom and Dad." And so that was great fun playing with voices with that. And, I don't think I created War of the Worlds or anything, but it kind of inspired me. Then for a lot of years, I got kind of shy about being too outgoing. And I was a good student, but on the quiet side. And then it was ninth grade at Buck Lodge Junior High School that the talent show script was terrible. And the civics teacher said, Mr. Berger said, "Rick, you and Larry, see if you can do better." So Larry Kirsch and I rewrote the darn thing. And I ended up in the course of the show, also mercilessly stealing George Carlin material. And I got laughs. It wasn't my stuff. I was trying to do my best George Carlin, and it was cheap of me, but it was great fun to get laughs, and that kind of launched me. That's kind of been a theme in my life, is encouragers, friends and fellow actors saying, "Why aren't you auditioning for that?" Or "Let me recommend you for that." And I consider it kind of providential, and I'm grateful for it. If it were just left to me, I'd probably stay in a shell. But I think I've had people say, "You should get out there. You should do that." And great things have happened. So, being an encourager and a cheerleader was having those kind of people in my life, for me, made a huge difference with whatever I've accomplished so far.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's nice to have such great support with what you're doing.
Yes, absolutely. I feel it, and I'm grateful for it.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Can you tell me how you were originally cast as Lawton in Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds?
Yes, to that same theme, Rory. Let's see. I guess your audience knows Veronica Taylor's name very well.
Yeah.
And I guess I can use her other name too, Kathleen. And Kathleen and I had done lots of English as a second language, ESL materials for years. And she said, "Do you know the Four Kids people?" And I said, "What is that?" And she said, "Well, your kids probably know it." And she said, they produce the manga and these animes. And she said, you should be auditioning. So I said, "Well, sure." So it was thanks to Veronica that she set me up maybe with an MP3 audition at first, because we're going back to summer of, I checked the records, 2010. And then so she had me get in touch with actor-director Darren Dunstan. And he had me read for Lawton, and that's how I got involved.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Veronica's amazing. We've interviewed her on the
Yeah,
podcast before, and she's
yeah.
she's a delight. She's amazing.
She sure is. I miss her. She's on the West Coast right now, and she's delightful. Her dad is an actor, and he lives in my town of Rutherford. So sometimes when I'm out walking, or back when I used to take the bus in before COVID, we would see each other and catch up a little bit.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
Yeah,
That's very
yeah,
nice.
yeah,
um,
yeah.
yeah, were you a fan of Yu-Gi-Oh, or aware of Yu-Gi-Oh's popularity prior to your casting?
All right. This gets a little sensitive. So I'm actually not a big fan. However, I have three boys, and my oldest son, Michael, reminded me this morning over breakfast. He said, Dad, you took all of us to see Yu-Gi-Oh! The movie. I said, Are you sure? He says, You may have fallen asleep. He said, But we liked it. And he said, I think we thought it was really cool and wonderful, and a great culmination of the TV show and all of that, good stepping off and all that. And I said, okay, good. No, I'll be sure to mention that to Rory. And but I've always been resistant about video games in particular, even though my boys love them, because I'm afraid I have enough of an addictive personality that it will just be a black hole, and it will be an existential time that I will never get back. And my kids and actors tell me, oh, it's fabulous though. You go into a different world. Yeah. Maybe you lose 3 or 4 hours in an evening and you go to bed at 3 a.m. But I haven't availed myself of the whole video gaming thing yet. So, I did Pong with my sister in 1973, But no, I haven't really been an anime fan, but I do appreciate the artistry all around with the voice and the pictorials. It's fantastic.
Yeah, that's brilliant. So, I mean,
Yeah.
you mentioned that your sons, are
Yeah.
fans. I mean,
Uh-huh.
how did they react when you told them that you're Lawton?
They were pretty excited. They followed the show, and I think they caught it when it came on, and they said little hammy, little big, but overall I think they enjoyed it and had a good time, got a kick out of watching it and hearing it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's brilliant. And, I think you're the first guest that has admitted to me that they fell asleep watching Yu-Gi-Oh! On the podcast.
Oh, great. I'm gonna be blacklisted somehow. I know.
I hope not.
No, I hope not to.
So what were you told about the character of Lawton when you were about to record your first scene as him?
Well, yeah, I went in and Darren was a hard sell because I was trying out different stuff on him, and I said, "Well, what about Christopher Walken? How about we pick I win, you lose card?" Huh? Yeah. And he said, "No, Rick, no, Christopher Walken." I said, "Maybe sort of Donald Trumpish, sort of Crash Town. What is this place? Can I buy it?" He's no. So then we finally arrived. I'm pulling your leg. So we arrived at something that was sort of an amalgam of old school Duke John Wayne with Keanu Reeves, and just super masculine man's man and Machiavellian. Hey, what's happening? And he said, that'll work. So, like I said, I'm sort of kidding you. From the audition, from the MP3 that I had submitted, he said, "Let's keep going there. Let's keep going that way." He's a bad dude, and he has no fear. So different from me, but I enjoyed it. It was a good time.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And if that Christopher Walken part is true, that's funny, because I'm pretty sure Darren voiced a character on one of the older Yu-Gi-Oh shows, and
Did he really?
He based it on Christopher Walken.
Right. We've already had my Christopher Walken, so we don't need two dueling Christopher Walken. Although you go to most auditions, there's even there's a casting office that says, "Please keep your voice down, actors waiting to audition. Please, no dueling Christopher Walkens. Other people work here." So
Yeah, that's
no, I'm
crazy.
pulling your leg about the Walken and the Trump. I just wanted to have a little fun.
Yeah, that's completely fair, but like I thought it was a faux story, so I was like, I should probably bring up that I'm pretty sure Darren did Christopher Walken for one of his Yu-Gi-Oh characters. Um,
Perfect.
yeah,
Perfect.
I need to look into that again, but I'm pretty sure he did. So
Excellent.
yeah, but that's really funny. Were you given a lot of freedom with deciding how Lawton should be played, or did the Yu-Gi-Oh! 5D's crew already have in their minds how they wanted him portrayed?
I think they largely had an image and an audio impression of what they wanted, and that's fine. There's a whole countdown thing. I guess your listeners probably know that. It's boop 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 beep. Hey, what's going on here? So because you got to match the lips of the animation, obviously. So you do have those technical considerations, Rory, of hitting your cue really, except it's audio with beeps, and so that's a challenge, and then there would be takes. He was great. The director, Darren. Darren was great about. He said, "Oh, I liked that one." He said, "Go even further with it. Maybe a little more snide and tough guy." I said, "Sure." So, and we would do a second take, and I think usually, as long as I was hitting the lip sync pretty well, we would have it after a couple of takes.
Yeah, that's brilliant. And what was that like working for you? Because
Yeah.
like, I mean, I imagine that was very different trying to match the lip flaps from the kind of work you usually do. Like, it's very challenging.
Another mentor, actor mentor in town, Larry Robinson, who passed away several years ago, unfortunately, but he had put me on, recommended me for some dubbing work earlier before I did the Yu-Gi-Oh, before I did Lawton. So, and he had warned me, I think, over coffee or something. He's, "Hey, you're going to hear these beeps. Don't let that freak you out." So they got to have that so that you synchronize with what they need with the lips. I said, "Of course, I understand that." So I had some experience watching it. So it is a little bit like patting your head and rubbing your belly because you're watching the script, you've kind of semi memorized the line, but then you've got a big screen where you see Lawton or whatever character you're syncing to, and it's a little schizophrenic because you have to watch and then perform at the same time and hopefully render a good performance. So it's a bit of a challenge, but I liked it.
Yeah, absolutely. What would you say are the similarities that you see between yourself and Lawton, if any?
Well, let's see. I have the chin. I kind of have the high cheekbones, but let's see what else. My eyes are brown, but I don't have the physique, and I never will because I'm lazy, much to my wife's chagrin. And the hair, I used to have a blonde streak, and my two sisters were very jealous, but that's gone away, with time. And I would kill for that kind of hair. I mean, that's Lawton has very, very cool hair. Come on, that sort of Keanu Reeves wisps coming down. I could never get my hair to do that. When I was a kid, I was a huge Batman the TV show fan. And who was
Yes.
Robin? The actor that played Robin. I forget his name right now, but I loved the way his hair swept across, like a little flying saucer. And I would try to get mine to do that, but I had like stupid silky pony hair, and it wouldn't really stay unless I put a lot of Aquanet in it, and then it was shiny and stiff and goofy looking. So yeah, so I have more in a box now, but I don't even really wear that anymore. But I love his hair. His hair is very cool.
Absolutely. So if there's one thing you could take from Lawton, it won't be his dueling cars, won't be his
Yeah.
outfit, it would be his hair.
Yeah, his mane. Yeah, with those fantastic masculine bangs. Do they call them bangs when they're long like that? I don't know.
I'm not so sure either. What we do know is you'd like Lawton's hair.
Very cool hair.
That's hilarious. That's brilliant. So what did you enjoy the most about playing Lawton?
I think because he's pretty different from me. I mean, he's pretty Machiavellian, as I said, and he's sort of a bully. And hopefully, your listeners and you can tell not really that way. And but there's something indefatigable about him, and like he will have his way. And geez, that's like 180 degrees from me. I'm pretty accommodating, and come on, to get to play a bad guy like that, and play to win. Come on, what's better than that? Just to kind of give swagger. I'm not a big swagger guy, but it's fun to play a swaggery guy.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean that's just like great acting, isn't it? Like
Right.
getting to like play someone that's just so different from you in
Yeah.
almost every way.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's part of the joy. Now, with the audiobook narrations that I've been doing, that I've been on a nice roll with, thank God, I get mostly nonfiction. So, and they don't even want you to do too much. Well, do you want me to do FDR's voice? Oh God, please don't. And do you want me to do Churchill? No, please don't even do a British accent. Oh my goodness. So you are somewhat hemmed in. There's a challenge even in those strictures or restrictions, of course, of getting to the meaning, of course, of those people's pronouncements of the quotes. But come on, with fiction, that's glorious fun. Yeah, it's a lot more work. You got to keep notes and little MP3s of, oh my goodness, what kind of accent did I use for this character 117 pages ago? So when it's a big cast of characters, but to get to tell the story all by yourself, to create a whole castle of a world in your little booth along with the author, that's great fun. Really is.
Absolutely, that's brilliant. What would you say are your favorite memories from your time working on Yu-Gi-Oh?
It will now be this interview. Come on. But yeah, getting the paychecks was nice. And Darren and the engineer, I think Dominic was usually the engineer on them. It was at Four Kids usually, I think, in Midtown Manhattan. And come on, it's good to go and just drink people's tea and coffee and eat their biscuits and tea and cookies and stuff. Actors love being pampered. So, you get pampered a little bit. And I have to say, not just with COVID, but it's been moving this way in the voice world, as you probably know, Rory, for years. We're pretty isolated. And budgets have tightened up on the audiobooks. Hey, can you not only do this at home and hopefully do a good job performing it, but you're also your own engineer. Okay. So it can be a bit of a lonely life, and the camaraderie and the synergy of really working, physically in a studio through the glass, yes, but with other people is fantastic. So I like every session. I really do, whether it's a corporate or a pharmaceutical thing. I try to work in some jokes. I try to work in a couple of impressions just to keep things loose, and you get the work done. But if you leave the hour with everybody feeling like we have great product and it wasn't very stressful, that's a successful session.
Absolutely, definitely. And I know you were kind of joking about your favorite part being this interview, but you were like the first person ever to say that, so I'm like, I had to laugh.
Well, when you approached me about doing this, I was like, oh, I remember playing him, and it was a lot of fun. But let me check my record. Oh, good Lord, it was 10 and a half years ago. So I had to kind of remember. So it's fun to have to go back. It's like a reunion.
Yeah, absolutely. That's fantastic. Yeah. What would you say were the biggest challenges you faced while working on Yu-Gi-Oh?
Yeah, he's just nothing like me, and as I said, fortunately, I had a little bit of experience with the technical aspect of the beeps, to sync up the lips. But come on, remembering to kind of stay in sync while you're also having to swagger as a guy that's, come on, like 180 degrees from me, and maybe give it a little bit of sarcasm or irony or what, snark. That it's a great challenge, and it's a lot of fun, but you don't always nail it. And Darren was great. He'd say, that's all right, it's just tape. Geez, these days it's just digits, right? We'll just roll again, cue it up again, and have at it again. And that's the wonderful thing about, recordings as opposed to live performance. You can have a little chuckle and be a little self-deprecating and deliver on the next take.
Absolutely, that's great. Which Lawton scene did you most enjoy recording for Yu-Gi-Oh?
I don't remember really well, but I do remember enjoying. I think we were reminiscing about it in our emails with the "Let's do this." So any time where he really gets to swagger and hold court and hold forth, I found that great fun. And he could be a little bit vulnerable at times, and he was a realist, and I enjoyed fleshing that out. Frankly, I didn't get to do. He wasn't in so many episodes that I really felt like I got to 3D him that much, if you will. But I had a good time. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great. And yeah, the "Let's do this" is pretty memorable as well because I rewatched the episodes before this interview and I was like, let's find a "Let's do this" because like most of the times when a duel is about to start, it's like "Let's duel" or something like that. And that
Right.
time the Lawton and Yusei said "Let's do this" instead, and I was like, that's different.
Yeah, yeah. And then I made a couple of notes because my son and I were watching some clips online at Gatling Ogre. And oh yeah, I kind of remember that. Yes, yes, yes. And so it was a lot for not being a steady fan, admittedly. It was a good time.
Absolutely, that's brilliant. And yeah, Lawton did have a lot of scenes with that Gatling ogre.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
absolutely. You've also worked as an audiobook narrator on a lot of
hmm
audiobooks in your career. Which were some of your favorite books to record the audiobook narration for?
Um, I mentioned earlier, thanks for asking, and I mostly do nonfiction stuff. I get a lot of biographies and history and social issues lately. I'm all over the map. One book will be very left leaning, and the next book will be more conservative. So I'm sort of all over the place. But I got to do a wonderful novel by a writer named Lauren Grodstein. I've actually narrated two of her books, and she's a professor of writing at Rutgers here in New Jersey, and a friend of the family. Was really powerful. Not really totally likable characters. Some of them are make some bad choices, but it was a very emotional experience and a difficult family story. Kind of it reminded me a little bit of the tone of Ordinary People. And I was a little exhausted when I was finished with it, but it was a memorable thing. 180 degrees from that, I recently did one by Donald Miller called Vicksburg, about the Civil War battle and Grant, and it's really rich, very detailed, and the challenge of telling that story, of honoring the author, and sure it's nonfiction, but it's still telling a story. And I enjoy that kind of challenge, and those are two that were memorable recently.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So which would you say has been the most challenging role in your career so far?
Let's see. There's an expression: "Dying is easy, comedy is hard." So let's see. When I was much younger and had more hair and still had a little of the blonde streak, I got to play Jesus in Godspell. So I got to die every night and be carried. Thank God. But then comedy, come on, actors live for comedy, even though it is hard. And I met my wife out at a playhouse in Pennsylvania called Allenbury Playhouse, not far from Gettysburg, actually, really close to Gettysburg. And it was a Ken Ludwig play called Lend Me a Tenor. And it had a great run in New York on Broadway, and I'm sure it played London for a good while. And it's a farce. And I played Max, and it was challenging and exhausting because it's the slamming doors, all of that timing with all the characters coming and going, fast changes, It's called Lend Me a Tenor. So my character gets pressed into service, and I sing, but I'm really more of a baritone. So I had to sing like an Italian tenor, do an Italian aria at one point. Did the best I could. They changed the key a little bit maybe, and to top it off, I had quick changes as Othello. Yes, with the makeup and everything. So it was crazy and it was exhausting, but when you can serve the author, and we had a wonderful director, the artistic director, Michael Rothar, is an LA-based person now. And the cast was wonderful. My wife, Rose, was in it. We were dating at the time. When you get laughs and it clicks, and there's just nothing like that, Rory. That's actors' nirvana. When comedy works and you just engage in that struggle that the author has given you, and everybody has fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it might be challenging at times, but it's just so rewarding afterwards.
It is, yeah, absolutely. I mean, if I could, I try to make my wife laugh every day. The kids I've given up on.
Yeah. But at least you're cool to them now that you're a Yu-Gi-Oh character.
There you go. Exactly. So I've gained some credibility, I guess, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if they ever have those, kids or teenage moments where where they just think their parents aren't cool, just remind them you were Lawton.
Thank you. That's good advice. I will. Yeah.
I'm here all the time.
Yeah. Yes. Well, as my big sister says, you don't stop raising them once they graduate from high school. And I said, you don't? She says, no, you'll see. You'll find out. And now they're almost 27, 24, and 19, and I see what she means.
Absolutely, for sure. My final question for you, Rick,
yeah.
Do you have any upcoming acting roles or any other projects that you would like to talk about?
Well, let's see. I got my old iPad here. It's not really an iPad. It's some knockoff. And I'm on a lovely book right now for a company called Tantor Audio that's been keeping me busy. And it's all about, it's called The Last Brahmin, and it's all about the American statesman Henry Cabot Lodge and how he evolved from being sort of an isolationist to an internationalist. And look, I'm only on page 50, and it's a 350-page book, but it's pretty interesting. And I've got, as I mentioned, a nice steady flow of audiobooks going. And you know what, Rory, I think I'm okay with that. If you go to audible.com and trace on my name, as you probably did, thank you. The list is growing, and I just want to keep working. I don't think I'm going to retire. We're talking about maybe in 4 or 5 more years, maybe moving south, if we can still logistically be near our kids or see them often enough. But if I can just keep a padded cell wherever I live to talk from and make some money, I want to keep doing this. Probably, as my wife says, well, they might stop calling you. And I said, thank you. Thanks for that support.
Yeah,
and,
that's no, yeah. Don't say that.
But she said, well, Rick, sometimes, you don't want to retire, but everybody else retires you. I said, well, yeah, I get you. Let's see if that happens. I dare them. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's all of my questions for you today, Rick. It's been a pleasure talking to you on the podcast.
Thank you, Rory. I've had a great time, and, that's really what matters.
Yeah, that's great, and hopefully we can talk.
I hope you've had fun too.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely have. So it's been a pleasure talking to you, and hopefully we can talk again sometime.
Thank you, Rory. I hope so. All the best.
Yeah, all the best to you as well. Hopefully we'll talk again soon. Take care. Bye.
You too. Thanks. Bye-bye now.
Time to wrap up today's show. Make sure to check out our podcast links, check out our website.everythinggeekpodcast.com/EGP, check out our Facebook page, www.facebook.com/everythinggeekpodcast, check out our YouTube channel, www.youtube.com/user/everythinggeekcast, check us out on Twitter, twitter.com/everythinggeekp. Check us out on Instagram, instagram.com/official everythinggeekpodcast. Email us at the following email, everythinggeekpodcast@gmail.com. Check out my Instagram, www.instagram.com/RoryWilliamson. Check out Rick Adamson's website, www.rickadamson.com, and check out channel 1138 where we broadcast live from, www.channel1138.com. Geeks out, everyone.
I had started auditioning for some Broadway shows and realized that while I could sing, I couldn't sing in the sort of Broadway fashion that you need to actually book work. I grew up singing in punk rock bands, which no one...
We recorded all of the other actors' lines, and then we did that one season. Throughout the course of that season, the director of Yu-Gi-Oh! Called me in to do a couple of other roles.